New Westminster Veterans Oral History Project. Today's date is October 31st, 2001. The interviewee is Mrs. Beatrice Stadnyk, who was a cook with the RCAF. Mrs. Stadnyk, can you tell me your full name?
Beatrice Henrietta Stadnyk.
Okay, and what was your date and place of birth?
I was born in Cranbrook, 1920, April the 2nd, 1920.
And what is your maiden name?
Moore.
Moore. Do you have any children?
I have 4 children.
And do you know their names? And
Michael, Rosalie, Catherine, and Shirley.
Okay. Are they living in the area now?
Michael lives in Nanaimo. The rest of them live not too far away. Rosalie is in Maple Ridge. Catherine is in Newton, and Shirley lives just a few blocks from me here in New West.
Oh, nice. What about grandchildren?
I got 3 grandchildren, one in Newton, one in Edmonton, and one in Nanaimo with his mom and dad.
Okay, good. Okay, have you always been a New Westminster resident?
No, I was born and brought up in Cranbrook.
Okay.
In the East Kootenays.
Right.
So and then I moved to, I worked in Grand Forks as a maid, a housekeeper, and then went from Grand Forks to Vancouver as a housekeeper. And I joined up in the Air Force from Vancouver.
And then after the war, is that when you came to New Westminster?
Yes, because my mother had moved out here to New Westminster.
Okay.
From Cranbrook.
From Cranbrook. Okay, so you were enrolled in the RCAF. What was your rank and position?
Just an LAW.
An LAW. And what does that stand for?
Leading Airwoman.
Okay. And what did you do? What were you trained to do?
I was trained as a cook.
Okay.
From in Guelph.
Okay.
We went to Guelph for our trade training.
Okay.
After basic.
Okay, that's good. What was the date that you enrolled in the armed forces?
March the 20th, 1942.
And did you maintain the same rank throughout?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What did your family feel about it, you enrolling? Tell me.
My mother was pretty proud.
Yeah.
I never did tell my dad for a long time, but he never said anything. Mom never really said anything that much, but she was happy.
Right. So, why did you enroll?
I enrolled on a dare.
On a dare.
I was out with my brother and his girlfriend at the time, and he was already in the army, and she told me I would never do anything like him. And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Join the service." Because she said, "You have a yellow streak down your back." Coming from a religious person, I shocked her. The next week I went and put my name in the army, but where I was living in Vancouver, I used to play with the little boy, and he upset the inkwell all over the floor. So I went the next week after that down to the Air Force headquarters, and they gave you your medical, gave you your number, and said, "Don't leave town." And I joined up that day, March the 20th.
And where were you working?
I was working in Vancouver.
Okay.
A family on 26th Avenue off Granville Street.
Oh, yeah.
So I was a dentist. He was a dentist.
And how did they feel about it?
Well, she told me I'd never get in. I said, "Why not?" And she said, "Because you're too fat." I said, "Well, they gave me a number and told me not to leave town." And I said 2 weeks after that, I was on the way for Toronto.
Oh, good for you. Okay. So, how many years of service did you actually complete?
I was in from March the 20th until December the 20th, 1945.
1945. Okay. And where were you discharged?
In Vancouver.
In Vancouver.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your feelings when you discovered that Canada had declared war on Germany?
I really don't know whether I had any feelings or not. I didn't realize what I was doing.
Right.
I just thought it was a new section in my life. That was all.
Right.
I didn't think too much of it, I guess.
Right. Was there a feeling of excitement?
Yes,
Yeah.
there was. It was wondering what I was going to do, excited because I was going to a different part of the country, as they said, join the service and see the world. So
right.
I thought that's what I was doing.
Good, good. Where did you get your training?
In Toronto at Haverhill College.
Okay.
And we were there 4 weeks for basic training.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Guelph, Ontario for my trade training as a cook.
Okay.
And from there I left for Lethbridge, and I was in Lethbridge about 10 months. From Lethbridge I got my embarkation leave for 2 weeks, and then I left for Halifax. And we were in Halifax about 6 weeks before going overseas, and we went in the second largest convoy
okay.
that went to England at that time. And it was a small boat. It was built for the South Seas, for the Caribbean. It was called the SS Covina. And we got close to the coast of Ireland, and the Germans came out. We had 2 alarms in one night, and the whole convoy scattered. And we ended up off the coast of Greenland somewhere up in that area. It took 2 days for us to get the convoy back into line to see that they had every ship. And then we docked in Liverpool.
You docked in Liverpool. Okay, I'll just back up just a little bit. Tell me, what was it like when you found out you were going to go overseas? What was the experience? How did you end up?
It was a shock because I hadn't heard the whole story in the evening because it had been papering. And one of the girls asked me if I'd go up to the admin building with her because she had something wrong with her paycheck. And when we got back to the barrack block, there was nobody in the barrack block but one girl. And they're all over in the canteen talking to some officer about going overseas. So I was the last one to put my name on the list. I was the last one interviewed the next day out of 300 and some girls. And I was the only cook that left Lethbridge at that time as a cook.
Really?
And when I got my posting, I was really happy to think I was maybe going to see my aunt and uncle in England. And then I told my mother, and she was really happy about it, because I said, well, maybe I'll see Uncle Bert and Aunt Harriet and Flo. So
exciting times.
it was exciting.
Yeah. Did you go across with any friends, or were you?
No, I met one girl from the station. There were just 2 of us that were posted at that time. She was from the parachute section.
Okay.
And I met her in Montreal. And we went the rest of the way from Montreal to Halifax together. So, but she wasn't on my station, so I had to make all new friends.
Right.
So.
Okay, so tell me, what was it like when you arrived at your station in England?
We were, when we first came into Liverpool, they put us on a train that went down to London. And we stayed in it used to be at one time a venereal disease hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And part of it had been bombed, but this other part where we stayed hadn't been, so they turned it over to barracks for the services.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left. We were only there a few days, and we went up to a place called Burbridge at first. Mm-hmm. And then we stayed there. It was the first campsite that had ever been built in England. Mm. And then we were moved from there up to Allerton Park, where they'd built our barrack blocks. The girls were on one side of the grounds, and the men were at the back ends of the grounds. The ADM's house was halfway between us, I guess you'd say.
Right.
So, and the mess hall and sergeant's mess and the airman's mess were all in that same area.
Right. And so you stayed there then?
I was there for the whole time.
Right.
Until I got my discharge, or posting home.
Posting home, right. What sort of things were you expecting when you went over there and you got put into your station?
Well, I wasn't expecting that we would have all the rations that we had to work with. We were lucky. A lot of our meat came from the States, and it was already cut for us. We did eat a lot of lamb.
Oh.
Mutton, I was going to say. And we had a lot of our meat came with bones and whatnot in it too. But
the place where you stayed, your own barracks, can you describe to me what it was like living there and what it looked like?
It was what they called a nesting hut. It was a corrugated building, and I can't remember how many was in our block, but to heat the place there was a little tin stove in the middle of the building, and then you had just the toilet on the outside of every barrack block. Mm-hmm. And you had to walk half a block away to have a bath or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So it was different, interesting. I got along fine with everybody.
Yeah.
So.
Did you make it homey?
We made it very homey. At the top part of in our barrack block, we got some sacks, flour sack. We dyed it, and then we sewed it and made a string across and kind of covered everything up that we had on our shelves to make it homey. Mm-hmm. At first, we used to have to make our beds up, because it was what they called 3 biscuits, your mattress. And then you had a bolster, for your pillow. And you had to fold everything up into a stack, I guess you'd say. Fold them all, your sheets and your blankets all into one. And then you put your mattresses, 3 at the one end and these on top, and your bolster on the top of that. But we complained because of having to be at work at 6 o'clock in the morning and having to do that. So they said, okay, you can make your beds up, but make sure your blankets are tucked in, that they're not hanging down. So.
What about mail?
Mail? We always look forward to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes your mail would be opened up and pieces cut out of it. I had a couple of letters from my mother that had been opened and pieces cut out. Mm-hmm. And she said she also got mail from me that had pieces cut out of. So she didn't know what I'd said.
Right, right. Did you remember?
No.
So why did they cut the pieces out, do you think?
Because they thought you were giving information, sending information back to Canada that you shouldn't be.
Oh, I see.
So.
Right, just for security measures then.
Yeah.
Okay. What was it like, the civilians in the area? Did you talk with them ever, or?
Oh, yes, they were very, very nice to us.
Mm-hmm.
We were stationed 9 miles out of Harrogate.
Mm-hmm.
The closest place was Knaresborough. Knaresborough is not much bigger than New Westminster, but they had pubs on every corner. And you can go. I never did go into a pub until the last year I was overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I had my first drink, by the way.
Oh.
And they were very friendly with you. You go to church and they would ask you out after church to go and have tea at their place. And I had some very nice memories of visits with people over there.
Have you ever maintained contact with any of them?
No. Only my aunt and uncle.
Your aunt and uncle, right?
Yeah.
So, because you were a cook, I imagine, did you ever have to go into the community to get food?
No.
Or anything?
No. Everything was brought in. Actually, our supplies came in through the army, I think.
Okay.
And we worked under civilian cooks.
Oh.
At first. And I worked in the bake shop, doing the baking. I worked in the butcher shop under a civilian butcher. Learned to make sausages, roll them into the shape of a sausage, then cut them and then cook them and hurt things. So,
Why don't you take me through an average day as a cook?
As an average day, well, start off at 6 o'clock in the morning. You'd be there for early morning for breakfast, and most of the time they had bacon and eggs or sausage and eggs. Not overseas, but, well, they did too. And you'd stand on the grill, over the grill rather, and cook the eggs, and someone else would be serving them, breakfast. And then after that, you cleaned all the tables and cleaned the mess hall, and then came back and got your vegetables ready for lunch, or some of the others were getting them ready. And lunch was between 12 and 1:30. And then it was clean up time again, and then get ready for the supper hour. We used to work till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the next shift would come on.
Mm.
So they would take over the supper part, but we'd have it kind of started for them if you were on days. And then there was the graveyard shift. And then if there was officers coming from other stations bringing letters and stuff, that because I was overseas, I was on headquarters, what they called headquarters, then we had to feed them at nighttime.
Oh, I see.
So some of them complained, and we used to have to feed the officers that worked in the mess hall, and or that worked in the headquarters, I should say.
Right.
And they always looked for bacon and eggs at 2 o'clock in the morning, which we didn't always have.
You wanted to be treated like royalty, hey?
Well, I remember one night this one officer couldn't come down, and I made up some nice sandwiches. He brought them back to me at 6:30 in the morning and asked me what kind of a meal I thought that was for him to eat. I said, if I had made a hot meal for you, by the time they'd got up there with it, it would have been cold. And I said, you would have complained again. So I said, I can't win for losing.
Okay. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the place, the people you cooked for? You cooked in the office? No, you.
I cooked in the airman's mess first. And, we had a lot of fun, all the kids that I worked with. We had to peel all our potatoes. We didn't have a machine to put them through, not until the last year I was there. We got a potato peeler, but everything was peeled by hand. And we used to cook our meat at nighttime, and then we would cut it cold in the morning and put it in the steamer to heat it for lunch. And lamb or mutton, whatever you want to call it, tasted horrible, to say the least.
So after you worked in the airman's mess, did you work anywhere else?
I worked in the officer's mess just for a couple of months. We had one chap in the airman's mess, and he was supposed to be on duty at midnight, the same as I was. There was a lot of dirty dishes and everything to do, but they used to have to bring the coke in for your stove. And when he did come into work, I asked him to go and get me a bucket of coke, and he disappeared. He never did come back. So, of course, the SPs, service police, they were the biggest scroungers that you ever came across. They'd come up and scrounge for this and that. And I said, instead of you scrounging, why don't you look for Johnny Belvance? And he said, why, where is he? I said, if I knew, I'd find him. So they looked all over the station for him, couldn't find him, so they put him on charge. And I had to go up the next morning, and I listened to the AVM for over an hour, standing at attention, standing easy, maybe you'd say. And he was telling Johnny, how do you expect me to give you a different job if you can't do the little jobs the girls ask you to do now? He was our main butcher at the time. And I started to wiggle, and the sergeant that was standing behind me said, more, stand still. At that time, I just broke down.
Oh, no.
After an hour and a half of listening to the AVM, and I broke down. Well, that's when I got posted to the officer's mess, because they figured that it would be easier on me than in the airman's mess.
Right.
So, and I was only there a month or 2 months, something like that.
Was it different cooking for the officers than the airmen?
Oh, yes, everything was. In the airman's mess, you made everything in big quantities. In the officer's mess, it was smaller quantities, and your pies were made in small pie plates so that they got the slice of pie like they should have instead of a little square piece. And
So, now from what I understand, you met your future husband over there, didn't you?
He was posted to my station from Top Cliff, I think.
Right.
He came to headquarters as a hospital assistant. And when I wasn't feeling well, the doctors suggested that since there was bikes on the station, I should take a bike and go for a ride, or I could go down into Narrowsburg and go golfing. And I told him there was 2 things I couldn't do. He said, you can always learn. And my one girlfriend, I still got to this day from Toronto, had a bike on the station. She lowered the seat, and between her and one of the other girls, they helped me up and down the roadway. When I went off by myself, I came coming back, and I slipped and fell in front of the officer's mess, right in front of an officer. and skinned both my knees.
Oh,
So, but he didn't offer to help me up.
oh.
So, but 3 days after that, after I first learned to ride the bike, there was 3 of us went out through the countryside, ended up in Boroughbridge, and they said they wanted to go in for a beer. And I cut across a convoy, which they were scared spitless I was going to get knocked down by, and got on the other side of the convoy, and we came back to the station. They were quite annoyed at me, but I had to buy their beer at the station. So.
And so how did you meet your husband then?
We just started talking over the steam table.
Right.
And I think when we really started going out was when one of the boys, we gave them a big party. And as I said, I wasn't drinking, but him, Morris, and one of the girls from the MT section gave me every kind of drink going.
Oh, Lord.
And I didn't even have a headache the next morning. But they both came in scratching their head. And I said, served you right. What you did to me last night, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And I guess, I don't know why it didn't fizz on me, because they did give me everything imaginable. And at the time I asked them why it was a different color, or they would just laugh about it. They thought it was funny. And I said, oh, well, it's just a different name.
Right.
So,
right.
Anyway.
So that's how it happened.
That's how it happened.
And was he from England?
No, he was from Saskatchewan.
Oh, okay.
And he was born and brought up in Sheehoe, Saskatchewan.
And did you get married over there, or?
No, we got married here.
Right.
After he got his discharge in Easter time of 46. And we got married in December of 46.
Right.
The longest night of the year.
Was it?
December the 21st.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So.
And just for the record, what was his name?
Morris.
Morris.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a couple of other things. What was entertainment like while you were over there?
We had, well, there was always music going on in the canteen. They used to bring groups in for us to dance groups, like a band in for us to dance to. Mm-hmm. And there was a skating party. And we had groups like that quite often. They would have a big dance maybe, and of course all the civilian girls would be there. We used to have one chap, we used to call him Snowball. He used to blow revelry and taps every day.
Okay.
He was a black chap, but if he saw any of us girls there, he danced one dance with you all night. He would dance with each girl that was in uniform. But a lot of the other guys, because the civilian girls were in long dresses, that's when they danced.
Oh, I see. I see.
But Snowball always danced with all of us. At least he gave us one dance each.
Right.
During the evening.
Well, since you're speaking about skirts, what describe your uniform to me?
When I first joined up, we had a uniform that had a kick pleat in the front. Mm-hmm. But then after they made they changed the style of the WDs to an A-line. Mm-hmm. And our hats were made different, a little different. They were made with a tilt to them, I guess you would say. Mm-hmm. But the jackets were the same. Mm-hmm. They were very, very nice. I mean, and then we had a summer dress.
Okay.
which was a regular cotton dress in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was issued. Mackenzie King was the prime minister at that time, and he issued the girls blue and white striped pajamas.
Very nice.
We were given $15, I think it was every 3 months, to buy underwear and stockings. Our stockings were gunmetal color. They had to be dark.
Mm.
So
Did you ever go on leave while you were over there?
we got leave every 3 months. You got a 48-hour pass. And then twice a year, I think it was, we got 7 days. So you could keep that 48-hour and add it onto your 7 days.
Mm.
And I went down to London to see my aunt and uncle.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I went there, my brother had sent my aunt and uncle a picture of me, and it arrived that morning. And I remember my aunt, when I knocked at the door, saying, "Bert, give me your handkerchief, because it must be the clergyman." She came to the door and she said, "I know you." The picture that she had just got that morning. So
Oh, good thing.
Uncle took me out the next day. He took me all over places where my mother had been to. We call it a theater over here, but they call them a show. Or we call it a show and they call it theater. That's what it was. And he took me to places where my mother had gone.
Mm-hmm.
We went out in a double-decker bus all around London.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed that, so I was able to write back and say where Uncle took me,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother said it wasn't cut out of the letter because of the way I had written it.
Oh, I see.
So I just told her that Uncle had taken me out where she used to go.
Right, right.
So that was very nice. I enjoyed that.
Right. Okay. So why don't you tell me a couple of experiences that you had? I know that you met some important people. Why don't you tell me about that?
When we got to our station up in Allerton Park, one time the Duchess of Gloucester was coming to our station.
Mm.
And it was going to be the first Canadian WD station that she was coming to visit, although there was more English girls there than there was Canadian girls at the time. And I hadn't been on a parade from the time I'd left Canada until that time. Our AVM took us down back of the MT section, lined us up, put us through our paces or open our order march and all the rest of it. And then he said, "God help you if everything doesn't turn out like clockwork." And everything did.
Mm-hmm.
As the Duchess of Gloucester came through the lineup, she stopped in front of me. How I held my head straight, I don't know, because our WD officer always used to call me Marnie instead of Moore. And I guess it was lucky that I knew Helen was on duty in the mess hall. But anyway, the Duchess asked me if I'd ever done any cooking before. I joined the service, and I said, a little bit, but we took a course. And her remark was, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
That was that.
That was that.
And then there was one time after that, King George and Queen Elizabeth and Princess Elizabeth came to one of the other stations, and we all had to go over there. I can't remember what station it was. And if I had stayed in the front rank, I would have talked to the king. But I was in the second rank after one of the other girls and I argued the point. She wanted me to go there, and I said, no, you go there. So had I stayed in the first rank, I would have talked to King George too.
That would have been an honor, hey?
That would have been. She said, serves her right.
Did you ever see any bombers or bombs or action where you were?
Not on our station. There was a bomb that came down, but it was quite a ways away from where we were stationed. I heard a bomb come down one time when I'd gone to Canterbury, and it came down in Canterbury. And I was in London once. I was going to see my aunt and uncle. And that's when the bombing was really bad in London. And we got stuck in the underground for over an hour. There was a bomb that had come down just a few blocks from my uncle's place. It hit the bacon factory, what they call it, a big bacon factory. Everybody had got out alive because the bomb came down a few minutes after they were all out. That night, when I got to my uncle's place, he was so mad because he knew I was coming. He made a cake that morning, but when I got there, it was all full of plaster of Paris from the walls. So he was really cursing the Germans that day. And he took me for a walk that night, and my uncle was what they called an ATS man too. And he asked the chap if he could walk me through halfway to see the damage that it had caused. And it was really something to see. All the dead center of the building had come down. And then I've been to St. Paul's Cathedral one. St. Paul's. Or was it Westminster Abbey? Westminster Abbey, I think it was. When a bomb I wasn't there at the time, but a bomb had hit Westminster Abbey, it was, and on the west side. And they had all the church services after that. Not in the main church, but in the crypt.
Oh, I see.
Down in the basement. And I was at a service, Westminster Abbey.
What was the feeling like in London then? Like when you were stuck in the underground?
You were scared.
Yeah.
You were wondering what's going on. I mean, because they kept the doors of the train shut. They wouldn't even open the doors. And it got kind of hot and muggy in there. Because where that train had stopped, you had to transfer from there, walk across the street to get on the other part of the same train, because it didn't go straight through. So you didn't know what was happening, because of the bomb, and of course we didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it until I got to my uncle's.
Right. And when you were walking and you viewed where the bomb blasts had been or had been dropped and things, what sort of feelings did you have?
Scared.
Scared, hey?
Yeah.
Did you feel, angry or was it just,
I just didn't know what to think of it all.
Yeah.
I just went along with my uncle's feeling, I think, because he was was so annoyed about his cake being ruined that I just went along with his feelings, I guess.
Right. Okay, that's good. Just to go back to being stationed and working as a cook and things, did you have a commanding officer or a sergeant or something like that?
Oh, yes, we have sergeant. I think the sergeant was in charge of the airman's mess and the sergeant's mess. And I think she was in charge of the officer's mess a little bit too.
What was your fellow cooks, what was your relationship with that lady?
We all got along. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we all got along.
Is there one experience or memory that stands out most when you were in England?
Yeah, when the war was over, at the end of the war, and we burnt the effigies of Hitler upside down at the end of our little street. I guess you'd call it.
How'd you make the effigy of Hitler?
Oh, I forget what they did. They had straw, and they had a cloth from somewhere, and we burnt him upside down anyway.
What was your feeling on VE Day?
I was happy.
Yeah.
I was glad it was all over.
Yeah.
Because I had put in for transfer to come home because I got some letters from my brother that was upsetting me. And I had asked for a transfer. And they told me that I would be stationed if I came home at Sea Island, which was out Richmond way. And to get home to Burnaby, where my mother was living, it would take me most of the day to get home, and I'd have to be back at the station that night. So they said, all you'll be doing is traveling on the bus, so you might as well stay here until it's all over.
Wow.
So that's how come I had to stay in England.
So much for transportation. Yeah. Did you attend any VE Day celebrations?
You mean when I was overseas?
Yeah.
Or just what we had on the station.
Right.
We didn't go into town or anything.
No. What about when you came back here? Were there anything goings-ons?
Not too much, I don't think. When we came back home on the Queenie.
Oh, okay. What was that like?
Oh, it was quite exciting.
Yeah.
There was 18 of us, I think, in a room. We were in bunks, 3 stories high. It was an awful lot of people.
I bet.
So we docked in Halifax, and then we were there for a day, I think, and then put on trains to go home.
What did it feel like when you were informed in England that you were on your way home?
I was excited.
Yeah.
Morris wasn't very happy. He said, "Can't you get up late and come home with me?"
Oh, he was still there, was he?
He was. Yeah, he was there 6 months, longer than I was. So.
And so, in Halifax, how did you make it back here then?
They put us on the trains, and when I got into New Westminster, it was midnight, and I was the only one getting off in New Westminster.
Oh. Was there anyone around?
Nobody. I got a taxi from downtown to where my mother lived. I didn't even bring my duffel bag home with me because they locked it up. So I just took a taxi to where my mom lived, and the door was unlocked. I didn't know where I was going to go, and so I just laid in the Chesterfield until she got up in the morning.
Did she know you were going to be there the next morning?
She knew I was supposed to be in. She wasn't sure when, so...
Right. What was that like the next morning?
Well, we had quite an experience. We were very happy to see one another.
Yeah.
She was glad to see me home.
Yeah.
So, it was nice to be home.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what was your feeling like when you stepped on that threshold of the house? Or when you stepped on the soil of this country?
I was glad again.
Yeah.
So, I was glad it was all over.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself when I was in the service.
Mm-hmm.
I did see a lot of places. I was in London, and I was in Birmingham, and I went to Scotland.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
And one of the other girls and I went up to Scotland on holiday. Everywhere you went, you'd have a person from Scotland tap you on the shoulder. Hi, Canada. How can I do for you? Can I take you home for supper? Can I take you somewhere? Would you like to see something? Oh,
No
they were really nice in Scotland.
Hmm.
Very friendlier than the English people.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they were very nice.
Hmm. So, when you return home, and what sort of attitudes did people have towards you or towards other soldiers at that time? Because you must have been one of the last people that returned, eh?
I'm not sure whether we were the last or not.
Right.
But I don't really remember too much about when you returned, how the people were at that time. Some of them were glad to see you back home.
Right. Did the military provide you any support when you got home?
We got a gratuity fund, and that was, I think, around $5,000. I used mine to buy my furniture.
Oh, good.
For when Morris and I were getting married, and he used his for the down payment on our house.
So that worked out, hey?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you go to work right after you came back?
I visited an aunt, or a cousin, I should say, in Grand Forks. And then I came home, and I worked here in New Westminster, where the BC Electric used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a cook there, too.
Good. Well, you had the experience by then.
Couldn't get away from it. No.
And so you worked there for a while, sort of thing, or?
I worked there, for a while, and then I partly got fired because I refused to cut the pie in 8 pieces instead of 6. We used to cut it in 6, and then the head boss decided it had to be smaller pieces, and I refused, and he fired me.
Oh, jeepers. So overall, do you think the vets and your vet as well, were treated well upon returning home?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And over the course of, how many years it's been?
Oh, yeah.
56 years? Yeah.
And I started going I didn't go at first to any of the big reunions. I got a phone call once about one that was in Toronto, And then I never got no call back. And then I heard in 67, was it? Yeah, in 67, that we were having one here in Vancouver. And I joined in with that and helped to raise funds and different things. And I had a wonderful time.
Yeah.
So, and then I've been going ever since 1967. About every 3 years we've had a big reunion, just Air Force girls. Every year they have a tri-service with the 3 services on the Lower Mainland here that go to different areas of BC. And I stopped going to those because the girls from the Air Force weren't getting the credit like the Army and the Navy.
Oh, I see.
And yet we were the first ones in and the last ones out before the other 2 services. So I kind of stopped going. And then I had trouble from the time I had the car accident to marching. I couldn't march just the same way.
Right. So you've been able to maintain some friendships, I suppose.
I've kept a lot of friendships.
Right.
So, like I said, when I just went to the 60th reunion in June of this year, and I met girls that I was stationed with in England, girls I was stationed with in Lethbridge, and I had really a wonderful time.
I bet.
I really did.
Do you belong to any sort of organizations?
No. I was going to join the Legion, and I did with my neighbor, and it was the Women's Auxiliary. And after a couple of years, I quit.
You did, yeah. Did you celebrate the 50th anniversary of World War II in any special way?
No, not in any special way.
But you do celebrate Remembrance
Oh, we
Day.
did. Yeah, we just had a group of us got together, I think. So I did want to go to Europe at that time, but I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, pricey.
So,
how do you observe Remembrance Day?
well, it's kind of hard for me to go down to the cenotaph, and I do get very emotional.
Yeah.
So I stay by myself at home.
Oh, you do?
I do. I watch it on TV.
Yeah.
And if I want to cry, I can cry.
Right.
And no one can say you're silly.
Yeah. What sort of emotions do you feel?
I feel for everybody that passed away. And the way they went. I feel for friends that I had lost, and it gets very touching sometimes when you think back on it. So, anyway.
So your family doesn't come here or anything? You really just enjoy being by yourself?
I enjoy being by myself.
Yeah.
Later on, I've talked to my brothers, and I could go up to the Legion, but I don't like sitting drinking all day long.
Yeah.
And so I would rather stay by myself and enjoy the service.
Right. Do you think it's important for young children to know about Remembrance Day?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do very much.
Right.
I think they should know what it's all about.
Yeah.
So I'm very sure of that part. Anyway.
Yeah. That's great. That's good. Okay. Apart from that, is there anything do you think that I've missed? Anything you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to share before this interview's over?
No, I think I have told you everything that I can remember.
Okay.
So.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.